When people die, they usually feel sorry for what they have done. They regret their decisions and maybe their life choices. No matter how bad they were, there is a moment of realization, a point where they understand their mistakes and know they have to surrender to God. They feel genuine remorse for the pain they caused. But a narcissist's brain does not work that way, does it? Even on their deathbed, they cry not because of what they did wrong. They cry because of how they believe the world wronged them. Can you believe that? 1 inch away from death, they still cling to their selective lies, convinced they were always right. They only remember what others did to them, not what they did to others. At this stage, they become even more dangerous. They curse people and pray to God to punish those who did not fall for their manipulation or believe their lies. Even when facing death, their cunningness does not stop. They still find ways to punish the very ones who did the most for them. When most people face death, they soften. Their pride melts into humility, but for narcissists, pride is the last thing to die. Their ego becomes their oxygen. They use every breath to rewrite history in their favor, spinning stories about how they were betrayed, misunderstood, or taken advantage of. The fear of judgment terrifies them, yet they cannot bring themselves to confess the truth. They would rather die innocent in their own imagination than admit guilt in front of God. In their final days, something extreme happens, unsettling. They don't become humble or reflective like most people do when they know their time is up. Instead, they become restless. You will see them suddenly trying to contact people they once discarded completely. Why? Because they want to see if they still matter. They ask twisted, guilt laced questions like, do you still care about me? Or after everything I did, this is how you treat me? It's not remorse. It is control disguised as vulnerability. They're not trying to make peace. They are trying to confirm that they still have emotional power left. And when they realize no one is listening anymore, that is when the actual panic sets in. The silence around them feels louder than any punishment. They can't handle being irrelevant, so they start rewriting the story one last time. They turn victims into villains and themselves into martyrs. They'll talk about how everyone abandoned them, how no one cared, conveniently forgetting the years of cruelty that pushed everyone away. Yet, despite all of this, there are 5 regrets every dying narcissist secretly has. And that's what we are going to talk about in today's episode. I'm Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Welcome to my channel. Starting with the biggest regret of a dying narcissist, and it's not hurting people, it is that they did not fool them better. That's what burns them inside out. They don't think, I wish I had loved more. No, 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 no. They think I should have hidden it better. They replay moments where people started seeing through their lies, when their mask slipped, when someone finally stopped reacting and they loathe themselves for losing control. In their twisted logic, loneliness is not the consequence of what they did. It's a sign that people failed them. That's entitlement in action. They sit there surrounded by machines, realizing no one is left to call. The same people they mocked, used, and drained now live peacefully without them. That silence hits harder than death itself. The nurses do not care about their charm because their words do not command power anymore, and their tears do not move anyone. For the first time, they see that fear was never love, and they have nothing left to offer, no stories, no control or mask, just a trembling hand that no one reaches for. What kills them before death is not the illness or the age, it's the humiliation of being seen helpless. The loss of power feels worse than dying. They spent their whole life feeding on others, and now there's no one left to feed from. Think about that. They look at their reflection, which is weak, small, and human. It terrifies them because for the first time, they can't pretend and cannot perform. They can't lie their way out. All that is left is the truth they have run from all their life. That is beyond their ego. That behind all the ego, manipulation, and cruelty, there was never any strength, just emptiness wearing a mask. And in that final stretch, when the body starts giving up, their mind still refuses to surrender. You can see it in their eyes, obviously, you can. That desperate flicker of calculation, still trying to find someone to blame. They will whisper names, curse people who are not even there, and twist memories to convince themselves they were the victim all along. Even as their voice fades, they cling to that same old fantasy where they are the misunderstood one, like I said, the hero who was never appreciated by their own children. But beneath that act, there is a terror, the kind of terror that comes when the performance ends and there is an audience left to applaud. Deep down, they know they're leaving this world unloved, unseen, and unredeemed. And for someone who spent their whole life chasing validation, that is the cruelest punishment of all. The next regret that eats a dying narcissist alive is that they did not live long enough to keep doing the devil's work. This is spiritual. They don't fear death because of pain. They fear it because it means the end of their influence, but not just psychological influence, the end of their ability to corrupt, to twist, and to destroy. When their health starts to fade and their body gives up, it feels like the darkness inside them is being dragged out against its will. They look around, surrounded by sickness, surrounded by the quiet that once belonged to others. They hurt, and it enrages them somehow. They hate watching themselves become weak. They hate that they can't stand tall, can't argue, gaslight, and twist things anymore. They hate that people are finally safe from them. But what torments them most is the loss of their role as the devil's advocate. The part of them that enjoyed watching good people doubt themselves, that whispered poison into innocent hearts, that made light look foolish, that part starts to die before the body does, and they can feel it slipping away. For once, the manipulation does not work, the charm does not work, the darkness is losing its grip, and as their breath slows, they realize the truth they spent entire life running from. That no one fears them anymore, not even the devil they served. There is a moment where they lie there, staring at the ceiling, realizing that death means the end of their act. No more chaos to create, no more confusion to plant, no more pain to feed on, and that realization feels like suffocation. They start cursing the air, cursing God, even cursing everyone who is still alive. I've seen it because deep inside they know that the evil they carried cannot continue without them. Their existence was a stage for something extreme that needed their ego as a vessel. And now that stage is closing. Another regret that haunts a dying narcissist is realizing they never truly won, no matter how much they tried to convince themselves they did. They fooled people into believing they were very successful, powerful, and wealthy. They built their lives around parents, maybe the car, the house, the image, the children, and yet none of it ever brought them peace. Inside, they were always starving. They broke hearts, ruined people's trust, and drained everyone who came close. But no matter how much attention they got, it never felt like enough. There was always this misery sitting in their chest, whispering that something was missing. It always was. They saw others living simple, genuine lives, laughing, loving, and celebrating. It made them burn inside. They could not stand that the people they mocked for being weak were actually happier than them. Every smile, bit of joy in someone else's life felt like a personal attack. So they competed with everyone, even when no one was playing. They could never just be happy for someone because they only felt alive when they were about them. And now, lying there with nothing left to prove, they finally see the truth. They never built anything real. What kills them is not the illness, as I was saying, it's watching the people they once hurt go on to find peace while they are in their own bitterness. They spent their whole life chasing power, but never learned how to love, rest, or to even feel. And now, surrounded by the ghosts of their own choices, they realize the one thing they were never able to conquer was themselves. Number four, the thought that someone else, even their own children, will get to enjoy what they built. It eats them alive, knowing that once they are gone, their wealth, house, possessions will belong to people they secretly resented for simply existing without fear of them. They can't stand the idea that their children may live freely, laugh loudly, or find peace with the very money and assets they used to control them through. To a narcissist, legacy is not about love or family, it's about total ownership. And nothing terrifies them more than losing it. If it were possible, they would drag every bit of their wealth into the grave with them. They would rather see it burn than see someone else happy with it. Even in their final moments, can you believe they fantasize about curses, hidden wills, or ways to make sure that nobody gets the amount without suffering first? That's how deeply envy runs. It turns inward, poisoning even their love for their own blood. As they fade, they realize that life will go on without them. Their children will smile again, home will echo with the peace they never allowed, and their wealth will finally serve joy instead of fear. And that to a narcissist is the final insult, knowing that in death, the control they worshipped slips through their fingers, and the world they tried to dominate finally becomes free of them. The lost regret, the realization that no one fears them anymore. Their whole life was built on domination. The way they could walk into a room and everyone would go quiet. The way a single glare could make someone doubt themselves. My grandfather, they fed on that power. It made them feel alive. But lying there now, weak and unrecognized, they see it's all gone. The same people who once tiptoed around their moods now look at them with pure indifference, even with pity, and that destroys them. They try to command like they used to, but their voice does not carry weight anymore. The anger, the manipulation, and the threats, none of it works. People don't care. The nurses ignore their tantrums. Their family just nods and quietly walks away. For the first time, their presence does not change anything at all. It does not matter how loud they were, how cruel they became. The world no longer bends around them. And that is when it hits. Fear was the only kind of love they ever knew. Now that it is gone, they're nothing. Just another body, sick body waiting to die. No one is afraid or impressed, and no one is listening to them. The power they thought made them immortal dies before they do. And as they lie there staring at faces that no longer flinch, they finally feel the one thing, the one emotion they spent their whole life running from: absolute powerlessness. And that is a befitting reply to their narcissistic ego, which thought it's never going to fade away, it's never going to lose. I would say death, in some cases, is the best teacher. And this, what I shared with you, is a prime example of that. Let me know if you have witnessed the passing of a dying narcissist and what was your experience like in the comments below. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.